Have you ever stared at a blinking cursor on a blank screen, knowing exactly what you need to do, knowing how important it is, but feeling physically unable to start? You tell yourself, "I'll do it tomorrow when I feel more motivated." But tomorrow comes, and the same paralyzing feeling returns. You probably call yourself lazy. You probably think you lack discipline or willpower. You might even believe you are fundamentally flawed. But what if I told you that everything you think you know about procrastination is completely wrong? What if your inability to start isn't a time management problem or a character flaw, but rather a complex neurological response happening deep inside your brain? In this video, we are going to completely dismantle the myth of laziness. We are going to journey inside the human brain to uncover the biological and psychological mechanisms that actually drive procrastination. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly why your brain forces you to put things off, and more importantly, you will have a scientifically backed, completely counterintuitive strategy to break the cycle. We are going to explore the size of a tiny almond-shaped structure in your brain, the fascinating concept of temporal discounting, and a hidden connection that dictates your every action. I promise you, once you understand the neuroscience of your own delays, you will never look at your to-do list the same way again. Let's start by defining what procrastination actually is. For decades, self-help gurus and productivity experts have sold us the lie that procrastination is simply poor time management. We are told to buy planners, download apps, use the Pomodoro technique, block our calendars, and just do the work. But think about it, if procrastination were truly just a matter of not knowing how to manage time, then every app and planner would have cured us by now. The truth is much deeper and, frankly, much more interesting. Procrastination is not a time management problem. It is an emotion regulation problem. To understand this, we need to look at the brain, specifically the limbic system. Deep within the temporal lobe lies the amygdala, a small, almond-shaped cluster of nuclei. The amygdala is often called the brain's threat detector. Its primary job is to process emotions and identify danger, triggering the fight, flight, or freeze response. When our ancestors encountered a predator, the amygdala would scream, "Danger," and flood the body with adrenaline to help them survive. But here's where it gets really interesting. In the modern world, the amygdala doesn't just react to physical predators like lions or bears. It reacts to abstract, psychological threats. When you look at a difficult task, like writing a report, studying for an exam, or having a tough conversation, your brain doesn't just see a task. It sees a threat. It sees the potential for failure, the fear of judgment, the anxiety of incompetence, or simply the dread of boredom and frustration. Your amygdala perceives these negative emotions as a literal threat to your well-being. When this happens, an internal battle begins. On one side, you have the amygdala, screaming at you to avoid the negative emotions associated with the task. On the other side, you have the prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex is the logical, rational, forward-thinking part of your brain located right behind your forehead. It's responsible for long-term planning, decision-making, and executive function. The prefrontal cortex knows you need to finish the project. It knows the deadline is looming. It knows the long-term consequences of failing. But there is a catch. The amygdala is ancient, fast, and extremely powerful. The prefrontal cortex is newer, slower, and requires a lot of conscious effort to engage. When you are stressed, tired, or faced with a daunting task, the amygdala essentially hijacks the brain. The connection between the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex is crucial here. Research has shown that individuals who chronically procrastinate actually have a larger amygdala volume. Let me repeat that, because it is an astonishing fact we need to unpack. A larger amygdala. This means their brains are physically wired to be more sensitive to negative emotions and perceived threats. Furthermore, the functional connectivity between the amygdala and the dorsal anterior cingulate cortex, a region that helps regulate emotions and actions, is weaker in procrastinators. This weaker connection means that the logical prefrontal cortex has a much harder time overriding the emotional distress signals sent by the amygdala. Your brain is literally experiencing an emotional short-circuit. You aren't avoiding the task, you are avoiding the negative feelings associated with the task. You are choosing immediate mood repair over long-term goal achievement. This brings us to another fascinating psychological phenomenon, temporal discounting. Human beings are terrible at valuing the future. Temporal discounting is our tendency to value immediate rewards highly while severely discounting the value of future rewards. When you procrastinate, you are faced with a choice: do the hard work now for a reward that is weeks or months away, or watch a funny video right now for an immediate hit of dopamine. Because of temporal discounting, your brain looks at the future version of yourself, the one who will be stressed, sleep-deprived, and scrambling to meet the deadline, as a completely different person. Neurologically speaking, when we think about our future selves, the brain regions that activate are the same ones that activate when we think about strangers. You are literally throwing a stranger under the bus so you can feel good right now. You are prioritizing the emotional comfort of the present moment over the well-being of your future self. But wait, there's a plot twist coming that turns all of this upside down. So, if procrastination is an emotional regulation problem driven by an overactive amygdala and a disconnected prefrontal cortex, how do we fix it? The traditional advice is to be harder on yourself. We beat ourselves up. We call ourselves lazy. We use guilt and shame as motivators. Come on, you idiot, just do the work, we tell ourselves. But here is the incredible twist: research shows that being hard on yourself actually makes procrastination worse. Why? Because guilt and shame are incredibly negative emotions. By beating yourself up, you are increasing the emotional distress associated with the task. You are giving the amygdala even more reason to perceive the task as a threat, thereby triggering even more avoidance behavior. It is a vicious, self-perpetuating cycle. You procrastinate, you feel bad about procrastinating, the bad feeling makes the task seem even more aversive, so you procrastinate more. The scientifically proven solution to break this cycle is the exact opposite of what you might think: self-compassion. Yes, self-compassion. It sounds soft and fluffy, but it is deeply neurological. Studies have consistently shown that individuals who practice self-compassion after procrastinating are significantly less likely to procrastinate on the next task. By forgiving yourself for your past delays, you reduce the emotional weight and negative effect associated with the work. You calm the amygdala. You remove the threat. When the task is no longer perceived as a massive emotional burden, the prefrontal cortex can finally step in and do its job. Now that we understand the neuroscience, how do we apply this in real life? How do we regulate our emotions so we can finally start? Here are 3 actionable steps based on the science of emotion regulation and neurobiology. Step 1. Forgive yourself for past procrastination. The moment you notice you've been putting something off, stop the guilt trip immediately. Say to yourself, I am procrastinating because my brain is trying to protect me from negative emotions. It's okay. I forgive myself for the delay. This immediately lowers the threat level in the amygdala. Step 2. Identify the specific emotion. When you feel the urge to delay, ask yourself, what exactly am I feeling right now? Is it fear of failure? Is it confusion? Is it boredom? Is it overwhelm? By naming the emotion, you engage the prefrontal cortex. You move the processing from the emotional center, the amygdala, to the rational center. Dr. Dan Siegel calls this, name it to tame it. Once you identify the emotion, the task becomes less terrifying. Step 3. Make the next action ridiculously small. I don't mean, read the chapter. I mean, open the textbook. I don't mean, write the essay. I mean, open a blank document and type the title. The goal is to make the barrier to entry so low that it triggers zero emotional resistance. You want the task to be so small that the amygdala doesn't even notice it. Once you start, you break the friction of avoidance, and the Zeigarnik effect, our tendency to remember and want to finish incomplete tasks, kicks in. But I know what you might be thinking. What if you try these steps and still find yourself paralyzed? Well, there's one more psychological trick you need to know about. Understanding the biological roots of your behavior is the first step toward changing it. Procrastination is not a sign of laziness, it is a sign that you are human, equipped with a brain designed for immediate survival rather than long-term productivity. If this deep dive into the neuroscience of procrastination changed how you view your own habits, hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because in our next video, we are going to explore the fascinating science of habit formation and how to rewire your dopamine pathways for effortless focus. Until next time, stop beating yourself up, practice a little self-compassion, and just take that one, ridiculously small first step.